Welcome to the end-to-end data analysis project where we're going to be doing some pricing analysis and we're going to be looking at a 3-year span where we look at gross margin and pricing intervention. This sounds way more complicated than it is. It's actually quite straightforward, so we're going to pick up a lot of skills along the way. So let's dive in. So what we're going to do in our agenda, we're going to build a database and pull data from multiple tables in our data extraction phase. We're going to clean and prepare data using SQL. So we'll look at some data cleaning, handling nulls, and then structuring a unified data set. And then finally, we're going to pipe everything over to Power BI to create a dashboard and do some analysis. So let me show you what the dashboard looks like. So here's our dashboard. It's in Power BI. And what we have in this dashboard is our daily grind, coffee statistics, where we're looking at revenue, margin, customer numbers, quantity, and cost of goods. Um, it just is a very straightforward dashboard. There is some cool things in here where we have an animated GIF where we can see our coffee animated there. We can select the different quarters here to see the data change per quarter. We've aggregated the data up from daily to weekly. And one thing we have here is a metric selector where we can select the different metrics here and it will update these two charts. So you can see if I pick orders, all of the data changes to the order amount. If I pick margin, all that changes also, and also the title. We also have a navigation button here that is going to take us to a little bit deeper uh, aggregation of our data where we'll look at the product name and the breakdown between the time from our 3-year span and be able to look at that data here and be able to determine which one of our products should be discontinued or which one of these products should we increase the price. So let's pop back over to our PowerPoint. So here's an example of an email request that we may get from our upper management. We observed a significant decrease in our profit margin across our portfolio, which we attribute primarily to rising costs of goods sold, tariffs, and other factors. Please review our portfolio across the 2023 to 2025 order data to make recommendations in our pricing strategy. So here are the tasks. Identify all products with a gross margin percentage below 30% in Q3 2025. So we'll do that. Create a dashboard showing year-over-year gross project margin, revenue by category, product, and region. Provide a clear data-backed recommendations on price increase or discontinuation. Please start on this ASAP. Director of Operations Daily Grind. So the first thing we need to do is get our data in a database. So let's jump over to Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. You can use MySQL. How you install these database management systems, there are tons of videos on the site. If you want to do MySQL, the last video I made has MySQL installation from the beginning, and many videos here have Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So this is Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. This is the name of your server. So this is something you're going to need to remember when you set up Power BI, but I'll take you through that later. Okay, let's go into this just by clicking connect. And then let me expand this out a little bit. Okay, so then you're going to navigate over to databases here. And this is going to open up all the databases that I've created. We're just going to right click here. And then we're going to click into new database. And then we're going to give our database a name. I'm going to call this, how about, I'll just call it grind sales for our daily grind database. So I'm going to click OK. And that's going to create our database. We can see it on the left side here. Now we need to populate that database because there's nothing in it with our tables. Now, our tables are going to be in CSV formats, and we're going to have 2023, 2024, 2025 orders. We're also going to have a pricing table and a customer table. So let me start getting those in. And the way we're going to do that is just going to right click and then go into, uh, let's see, import flat file. When you click that, oops, that's the wrong button. So let's go back over. No. Yes. Now, right click the database. Uh, Go to task, then import flat file. Now we can get to the location. And I'm going to bring in order 2023. Just hit OK. Next. And now you can see the preview of your data. Hit next. Next again. And now you can hit finish. If I go back over to our grind sales, let me close that. Hit the button here to open up the tree. Go to tables. And then you can see here is our data orders 2023. Now I'm going to quickly add all the other ones. So I'm just going to speed this up so you don't have to watch me do it because all you're doing is right clicking the database, going to task, and going to task and then importing the flat file. Having a lot of task, import flat file. Unfortunately, we can't do all these in a group. Okay, now we have all the orders in there. Now let's get our um, product and customer table in. Task, import. That one's done. And now we just need products. Okay, so now we have all our tables brought in. We have our grind sales database. Now we want to, you can see if I click tables, we only see that one table there. We need to hit the refresh button here. And now if I go back over the tables, we can see 1, 2, 3, and I think we're missing one. We should have 5. 23. We didn't bring in 24. So let's just quickly get that one. Hit refresh again. Now let's open those tables up. Why is 2024 not showing? Am I bringing in the right table? Let's see. So we have a little bit of an issue. Refresh again. Let's see. Products, orders, customers. Let's get, I'm going to right click again. See and do this. Make sure we're bringing in the right file. Okay. Orders 2024. The name is Orders 2024. Okay. Orders 2024. Orders 2024. Next. Let's check the dates. We see the order dates 2024. Okay, no problems there. Finish. Oh, so here's our error. Let's see. It says error inserting data into the table. And the reason why is because it's open. So you can see it might be already in use by something. So let's make sure it's not in use. So what I'm going to do is close down Excel here just in case. And then I'm going to go to previous and let's see what's going on. Allow nulls. We can allow nulls in revenue. Let's see. Oh, the error is still there. Let's read it again. It says does not allow null in the customer ID. Okay, so let's go by. Okay, so we have customer ID here. And let's say we want to bring in customer ID with nulls. We can click that, see if that fixes the issue. Success. Close. And now we should be in business. Check our tables. Boom, we have all our data and we're ready to build our SQL query. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is you can click on any one of these tables and right click it, and then we're going to select the first 1,000 rows. This is just going to give us the ability to get into the database. So you can see this query here, and it's just bringing back the 1,000 rows, but I want to simplify that. So I'm just going to hit enter a few times and then select, and then wildcard, which is a star. And then now that we're in the database, we don't need to keep writing it over, and we can just bring back the tables. So that is this query will bring back these same results. But what I want to do is append these three order tables. But I don't want to bring back everything. I just want to bring back the columns that are important for me. And we usually don't do wildcards because it's not best practice, and then it makes your SQL query kind of messy. So let's just bring back what we need. So we're going to bring back the order ID, and then the IntelliSense should start kicking in by now. Customer ID, and I'll just follow the same format as below. Product ID, it's at next. Yep. Then let's bring back the order date and quantity. And the revenue. Let's see the COGS. And I don't think we need the source file because that's not going to help us. So now that we have, now that we have this query, let me open it back up. All we want to do is append 2024 and 2025. So now I'm going to click into this. And what I'm going to do is just put union all. That's just going to bring back all the columns and stack them on top of each other. And then I'm going to just change this to 2024 and do it one more time and union all. And now change this to 2025. Now that we have this, we can run this, and you can see it brings back everything. And what we want to do now that we have this table here, let's turn it into a common table expression. So with CTE, well, let's not call it CTE, let's call it all underscore orders. And then use a parentheses here, use one here to lock it in, and then select. And then we can use a wildcard here because we're just testing everything from all orders. Let's see, all underscore, oops, I'm typing. I did something wrong. Let's see, it's called all orders. And there's an error somewhere. Just don't know where. With, let's see, oh, yeah, with all orders um, as, and now we should be able to select everything from all orders. There we go. So now if I run this, and let's check it by seeing if 2025 is in there by ordering everything by the order date. And let's do that descending. I'm going to hit enter, and I think I just pulled this out by mistake, but that's all right. So we can see 2025 there, and if I do ascending, we get everything from 2023, which means that our query worked. Now, instead of bringing back this wildcard, let's get rid of this and the wildcard and bring back the tables that we want. And then also let's alias this table to say it's like A because we're going to be combining it with everything else. So what do we want to bring back from this table? We want to bring back the customer. Well, let's order ID. customer ID. Oh, well, let's make this a little bit easier on ourselves. Let's copy this and then come here. And then we could just put A here. A and A and A. And this is going to make our query much cleaner by using these. And then also, let's start documenting what we're doing. So now from here, we're building the main data set query. And then let's go back up here and just say combining the order years. And just to keep everything clean. And so I'm going to put a little space there. And now that we have this is going to just produce this again. Let's join the customer table. And let's call customer table C. And how do we want to join that? We want to join it on a dot customer ID. And you see the IntelliSense is working. And C dot customer ID. And then let's bring back the customer information next to our customer ID. So C and then C dot, oops. And then it should pop up what you have in there. So we want to bring back the region. And then I'm going to put date next to the order date just to keep it organized. C dot, oh gosh, C dot order customer join date and comma. And that should, and now if we run that, now you can see we have that customer join date, and then we have the region here. Now let's join one more. Let's join the products table. We'll call that P. And then what we'll do is on a, oh, and let's actually make sure we're left joining. I think it might be default, but let's just put it there to be safe. And left join is going to allow us to make sure we bring back all of the records from the order table and then null anything that's in the other table that doesn't match. So we're going to bring back a dot, what is it? A dot product ID equals P dot product ID. And we can bring all this information at the end here. Let's bring P dot and let the IntelliSense tell us what's in there. And if it doesn't, you can just go over to the tree and bring back, and you can see my query disappeared. That's just because I pulled it out by mistake. Let me hit it. And then we can just bring back these tables. So we don't need the product ID. We need the product name. And let's put a comma here. And periodically, this IntelliSense will stop working. Product category. And then let's bring back P dot price. And then P dot base cost. Okay. So now we have this query, and if we run it, let's see if we have any errors. Nope. We bring back our unified data set. Now, before we move forward with piping this in Power BI, let's check to see if we have any nulls in revenue, because that's going to be important. So where a dot revenue is null. No. So let me run this. And you can see we have quite a few nulls. So what we can do there is either we can bring back a new column, and I think I'll do that, bring back a new column so you can see the difference when we fill in these nulls. So let's see. Let's go to revenue next to it, and let's put an if statement, and the if in SQL is case. So case when a dot revenue is null. Oops. Oh gosh, uh, is null, then, oops, Then I want you to bring back p.price times a.quantity, because that's going to give us what we're looking for, right? As revenue, price time quantity. Else, just give us revenue if it exists. And let's end this, and we can call it as clean. The intelligence is working a little bit too well. Cleaned revenue. And that's revenue. And let's capitalize that just so we follow what's in the. And I think it's no space there. So let's do it that way. Put a comma. And let's run this. So now you can see next to those nulls, we have this clean revenue figure here. Okay, and so now let's see if we have any missing customer IDs. So we can just change this to customer ID and run it. Oops, that's an issue. Customer ID. Oh, is null. Run it. And you can see, wow, we do have quite a few. Now we have 24 out of our total data set, which is not too much. So what I'm going to do is just not bring these into our analysis, because if we can't identify them to a customer, they may be erroneous. But let's make sure we're telling, so we're dropping the non-customer IDs. And then all we need to do is to drop them. It just said bring anything that's not null back into our query. So now we have this unified data set that we can work with that has been cleaned and ready to pipe into Power BI. Maybe one more thing we can do is we can just add a profit column. So we can say a.revenue minus a.cogs, and we can call that as profit. And just have that as our reserve. We'll build our margin column probably in Power BI, but we can take that. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to just copy this query. Then I'm going to go back over to Power BI, and here's our dashboard, if you've forgotten. So we will like rebuild this very quickly. And then not spend too much time on that, because this is very straightforward. The only thing that we're doing is building this switch, which is a little bit extra work, but it won't be that big of a deal. So let's create a new notebook. So I'm just going to go to new. And now I'm going to close this. And then I'm going to go to get data. And then I'm going to go to what? Well, let me just create a text box here and drop my query there just to hold it. Then I'm going to go to get data. And let's go to more. Oh, actually, it was there. We just want SQL Server. This should do it. SQL Server database connection. And now you want your server. So we go back over to here. And then this is your server name here. So I'm just going to press Control C. And that might have copied it. No, it didn't. Let's see. I'm just going to connect to this. Control C. Let's see if I can. So I don't want to write it over because it's not so intuitive. I know what I can do. I can just go to properties. And now I can copy this and go back over to our Power BI, type that in, and a database is called Grind Sales. Then I'm going to go back and for our advanced query, what I'll do is I'll just, because we'll change this in a minute, we'll do select everything from product or customer. It's customer or customers. And let's see if that actually runs. So let's hit OK. And you can see we're bringing everything back. So we have made our connection. And what we can do is git transform data. And here we have our SQL query, as you see, and our connection. So this is our query here. What we can do is go to data source, and I think we can change it from here. Edit or change source. Okay, so this is what we can do. We can do grind, but it won't actually allow us to change it there. So let's go over and see what we can do. What we can do is just drop the query in here, but that's a bit messy, but this is what I'm going to do. Get this, copy. That's my query. And then I'm just going to copy it in there. And then I'm going to hit the check mark here. Permissions, edit permissions. Okay. I got to be an easier way. Oh, there we go. So now, if we can hit source there, so it's easy to hit the source over here to change your query. Grind sales. And this should run. Let's see if we got any issues. I don't know if it will read um, our document string, so let's just get rid of these very quickly, just in case it's causing any issues. It shouldn't, but we don't know. Okay. Oh, yeah, that was it. So we have to get rid of those document strings. And then here is your total query. So let's, what would we call this? We call this, I don't care. We can leave it as query. And then we get close as apply. And we can see that information coming in. We have 4,000 rows coming in. We can get rid of this, the table here, remove. And let's quickly do this. So first thing we want to do, let's just get a quick look at our dashboard. So we want to do the key performance indicator, the coffee grind. We want to have our animated query there. All right, so let's I wonder what happened. Animated died. We'll fix that later. So let's get our information in first. We can start with our, maybe we'll start with a chart here. And this is by product. So I'm just going to type product category. And then I am going to just put revenue there. We're going to change this later. So I'm just going to take that, put that over on the side. Then let's get our another chart, which is our printed chart. So let's get order date, and let's get revenue also. So I'm just clicking revenue, and we'll change that in a bit. And now you see we have this chart. So we want to go back over to the left side and choose the um, we want to choose the stacked area chart for this, and we'll put this here. And what we're going to do is bring in the region so we can have those all changed. So we'll rate region and legend so you can see that. Um, oh, and one thing we wanted to do is not have this data by day here. We want to have it by week. So what we can do is go back over to our chart and or our SQL query and change that. So I'm just going to have this here and here. All right. And you can see these two will change each other. And we'll deal with the colors in one section in 1 minute. All right. So we have those two. We want to build a table here. So this table, we are just going to get a matrix table and order date. Let's put that in order date. Let's go ahead and bring that into the columns. And then we're going to get rid of day and month and quarter because we just want to have this by year. We're going to get the product name and bring that down into rows. And then we are going to, uh, let's put just revenue there for the moment. And then we're going to change that in a bit. So now we have this table here. And so now we're starting to get that dashboard into a format that we had before. Make this a bit smaller, but we could deal with all this later. Okay, so now let's go and get our KPIs. So let's just choose one of these and we'll choose this. Oops, wrong one. Let's make that separate. I'm going to choose revenue and let's make sure revenue is in a dollar amount. So I'm clicking this and going up to the top and choosing that format as a dollar amount. And you can see that changes everywhere else. Let's make this pretty small here. And then I am going to just build a couple by copy and pasting. And we'll make those all on the same level. And we can change all this in a moment. So I'm just going to copy and paste those. Copy and paste. And copy and paste. All right. So they are kind of straight. There we go. Then I'm going to get a line here. So I'm going to click Insert, go to Shape, get a line. Did that pop up somewhere? Yeah, over here. I'm not really sure what's going on over here. Why our dashboard seems to be pulled over a bit. So I'm just going to put that here. And so now we have kind of our main metrics or main information there. Let's move everything over. So I'm Control A, and then I'm going to pull this over a bit. Let's get our filters. So I'm going to go here to where it's a filter. And then I'm going to choose order date. And now you can use this filter, but I don't want that one. I want the bubble. So I think I can just change this one, slicer settings, and then I want to put, is it tile or let's see. Well, this one actually looks kind of nice. But no, I want the different type of slicer. I don't know if it's in this one before or after drop down. No. So let's go back over to the visual here, and I'm going to choose, there must be a different slicer here. Probably this one. No, or this one. That looks like it. So now I'm going to choose this slicer and I'm going to choose order date. Yeah, there we go. And now we can pull this here. So we should be able to break this down by year. Yes. Okay. So this is going to be the slicer here. And what we're going to do is have order date. And you can see this is going to change everything. Now, so I'll show you what happens when we have these lines. It's a bit too spiky, and we also have something filtered. It's too spiky at this level. So what we want to do is bring in the week because we can't really get anything of note that way, as you can see. So and we also want to bring in a switch to be able to cycle through these different years, and we will also work on making sure this table is broken down a little bit more. So let's I want to do that now. So maybe I want to bring this down by region, and let's put region right over in the rows. And then like what we can do here is just like break this down this way, which could be one way to do that. Or actually, it's probably better to make this region by the columns because that gives us more information. And then bring in order date. So order date here in the rows this way. And then let's not break it down by year. Let's just bring it all back up to the main hierarchy. So I'm just clicking that down arrow and going to order date. And now we can see all of the information there by what was bought. And we'll deal with all of the formatting in a moment. And let's just see. So if I'm clicked on 2025, and then we can see it, what's bought by East West and everything else. But that's why we want to get this week because there's too many holes here. So let's go over to our query. And maybe I can show you this in Microsoft SQL Server just so you know what we're doing. So I'm just going to pop over to this. And then I am going to build a week column. So first, hopefully I won't mess this up. Let's go here to where we have order date, and let's go to date add, and then I'm going to say date add, and it said give us an interval, so we want a week, and I can't remember if week is like this or we need to put it in quotations, week, and then what else do we need? So as you write this, you'll see date add. It should tell you what you need. You need an increment and the date time and returns a small date. So increment should be week. And then expression of small time, I think we put 0 for that. And then, well, I might be wrong, or it might be just order date. Let's find out. Order date. Well, let's go. And actually, why do I have that there? I think it takes 3. Well, let's just see what that brings us back. And let's just call this as week date. And let's run this. It's not working. So it takes 3 arguments. So I think we can just set 0 as the base. Let's see. So execute. Yes. So this is what we're looking for. So where's weekday? Weekday. So this is going to be right after order date. So right now you can see what it's doing is just bringing back the uh, the week, but it's not really doing what we want. So now what we want to do, so now let's replace this to make sure we have the right order here. So let me just make sure. So I'm just pulling this in. The date argument has 3, and let me just double check. Date add. And then as you build this, you should see what it requires. So I'm going to interval we know is week. Week. And 0 a dot order date. Let's see if that's what this does. And let's run that. And let's just change this to 0. I can't remember the order, so let's see. Okay, so that's what we need to do it. So it's 0 and then order date. So that's going to, now we want the difference from that our start of the week to the end of the week. So let's use dated diff. And then if I choose week here, starting date, we want to use a dot order. Actually, we want to use 0. The order date. All right, so let's get rid of that 0. Week 0. Order date. Then I think it's 0. See if that works. Okay. So we just ran the data diff and we want to get everything from 0 to what the order date is. And what the data diff is going to give us is the number, so of where that is. So let's just see if that works. Okay. Week, order date, week date. Ninth? Yes. So this looks like it's worked. It gives us the floor date of the week. So now we can just copy this or copy the whole query, go back over to Power BI, go back over to, let's go to home and then transform data, open up the query, hit the source over here, and then go back into our query and just add that. So it's right at the order date. I'm going to add the week date and that looks right. So let's just add this. hit OK. Oh, nope. Let's see what we did wrong. Oh, did I add it in the wrong place? I sure did. So, oh, well, okay. Maybe it's easier just to copy the whole query again. All right. Back over here, Control V, hit OK. Okay. So now we just copied that whole query. And then what we're going to do is we have this week date here. That is the start of the week. And while we're in here, just let's fix this. We just want date, not date time. And for the order date and the week date and the join date. So we just want date, not date time. And here we also want date. Okay, so those are all fixed. And now let's hit close and apply. And now for this little spikiness here, what we can do is get the week date and bring that in here. So I'm clicking that instead of order date. I'm bringing in a week date. Gonna get rid of order date. And now I'm just going to have that aggregated at the week. So if we wanted to see our information there, it's a little bit on the smoother side. Let's bring this I'm still okay with at the moment. But you can see here our lines are still super spiky. And everything is being filtered. So let's click here. Let's go to line, to our visual format here. Then we can go to lines and let's go to all. And then lines, we have solid, right? And we want the join type to be round. And then interpolation, let's not use linear, let's use smooth. And you can see it gets smooth now. And you can start to see it's not so hard to see at the moment. And also for our revenue, which we'll deal with later, you can see we have too many spaces here after the decimal. And that's just a product of not cleaning that up when we brought it over from the database. I am also going to remove the subtotals here. So I'm going to click into this and click the visual here, which is going to give you the format. I'm going to remove the column totals just so it looks a little bit cleaner. Okay, so we have that. Let's deal with the colors while we're here. So I'm going to do this in a very easy way. You can see we have the default color scheme. If you click view here, you can go to the top and I'm going to choose this color scheme. And you see, boom, we're already like halfway there. But it also changes the visual formatting here and we'll fix all of that. So we can just copy Control A all of these and let's make these smaller. So let's use a call out value, go to general, go to properties, and let's make the widths. Oh, no, let's do the font size for this. So size is okay. Let's go to visual, and then we can go to call out values. Let's make that 18. Oh, we forgot one here. 18. Okay. So we're kind of almost there, kind of. Uh, so now we want to be able to make a switch where we bring in the metric that switches over. So what we're going to do now is bring that in so we can be able to use a filter and then select the metric that we want to look at. So let's do that now. So we can get this from a switch value from Power BI or ChatGPT. So let's switch over to ChatGPT. Give me a DAX Switch Formula with selected value. Let's see if that works. Okay, this is good enough. Selected. Yeah, so this one will work. So let's just take this and let's go back over. Now, in order for this to work, we need to build a new table. So we will go to home, enter data, and we will call this our metric selector. And then let's call revenue, profit, quantity, and then let's say margin. And then we'll call this our metric selection. Now we have this table, and I'll show you what we're going to do with it. So this table should populate over on the right side here. We have our 4. Let's see if it's there. Hmm? Oh, did I put it in the wrong place? Yeah, enter data. It's the wrong dashboard. It was our previous one. So let's do it here. Metric selector and revenue. Quantity. And we could do customers too while we're at it. Customers, profit, and then margin. Now load. Now it should populate over here. Oh, maybe it hit refresh. Oh yeah, so you can see I brought it in. It just wasn't over here because we have this selected. My mistake. So we can get rid of that table. The previous table metrics. Let's see which one we have the most information in. So I'll click over here to this side. And then here we have this one and this one. So this one has a little bit more. So let's eliminate that one by clicking the ellipsis and hitting delete from the model. And now we can rename this metric selector. Okay. So let's go back over and then let's create a new measure here. So we just right click anywhere here and then we go to new measure. Then I'm going to open this up and then I'm hit Control V to bring in our thing. So for our selected value, we want to bring in anything in that metrics table. So metric selector and plus the value there. So we have metric selector equals, and then let's say revenue. What do we want you to bring back? We want you to bring back the sum of revenue. Let me just make sure that's closed. So now what do we want to bring back? We would bring the sum of the revenue from my query. So this is pretty much going to be what we're just going to just be able to copy and paste down, right? So now we can bring back quantity, and then we can get the count of all the order values, order IDs. And then here, we can just bring this down. Oops. Bring this down. What am I doing? Why is it blocking me? Let me copy it. Something. Cannot find the table. Oh yeah, so here. Copy this. And then we have profit. So let's say anytime we pull profit, let's also get the sum of profit. Profit. There we go. And let's do one more, which is going to be our margin. And then, oops. Oh, why is it doing that? No, it's a bit finicky. So I'm going to, control, was it Alt Enter to make a space? Yeah, Alt Enter to make a space. So metric selector, we want to use margin. And then margin can be calculated a couple different ways. So we do have profit. So let's just show you the whole thing. Sum of revenue minus sum of COGS, cost of goods, COGS. And then we're going to divide that by the sum of revenue. And let's encapsulate the first part in parentheses so it runs first. Okay. And let's see what we get here. No errors. So let's close that down. And now let's take this visual and then go down and get our, what do we call that? Measure category. Is that what we called it? Let's change this to be called metric. Well, let's call it KPI to make it simple. Okay. So now we go here. And instead of us bringing this in, we pull the KPI to sum of revenue and replace it. And we have nothing here because we haven't selected it yet. So then we go down to a metric selector here, and we get this same type of filter here, and just copy and paste it, bring it down a little bit. And now what we want to do is go to our metric selector and just bring this in, get rid of this. And now we have our selector, and now we can select all of the different things we want to see, right? Margin might not be a good thing to see here, but you can see it does give us some information there in terms of what we want. So I'll leave it up to you. Let's also change this one to our KPI. So instead of sum of revenue, we'll replace that with KPI. Where is it? KPI. And this is also changed also. So you can see that change. We'll leave that for right now. Let's start cleaning up our information. You can also put the KPI in here. So let's just go here, go down to sum of revenue, and then now you can see our KPI is there. Okay. So this is just a way for us to get everything going. Now let's fill these in very quickly. So we have our revenue. We'll leave that as double click and just call it revenue. We want the average revenue maybe. So we'll change this by clicking downward, going to average, and make sure that we only want 2 decimal places. So now we can go to format as we select that. No, not format, maybe home. One of these allows us to do it. Let's see. Let's see, average. Because we only want 2 decimal places. So let's do it from here. Call out value. Category. So let's put 2 decimal places here. So once we go in visual, call out values 2. Uh, Here, let's use the another. Let's put profit. So profit for this particular category, profit, and then we'll just double click, call it profit. Make sure we're bringing that in as a. So let's click this, and then we can bring this in as not general, but a currency. And that should work, right? Yep. And now let's bring in the count of customers, customer ID. So let's bring this in. Oop. And then let's use breakdown to count. And let's go to formatting here, call out value, and we can do thousands, right? And oh, maybe not. Well, let's leave it. Let's leave it at auto, maybe. No, thousands. I'm assuming it's going to be, let's leave it at auto for the moment. And then let's change the name to customers, maybe number customers. Here, what do we want to put? I don't remember what we have, but let's think about what's valuable. Um, we can do margin, which we haven't calculated by ourselves. So we can do that. It's only in the KPI at the moment. So let's do this. Margin equals sum of revenue. Oh, and we actually should be using the clean revenue. So I forgot about that. So we can always go back and change that. And then the sum of COGS divided by sum of clean revenue. And let's put this in parentheses. And this is going to give us a percentage. All right, let's clean that up. Margin, turn this into a percent. And let's bring this in here. And one more thing we should be counting is let's count the quantity. So quantity, we bring that in here and double click. And we'll change that a little bit later. Let's fix our KPI. So let's go to our KPI selector because we're using the wrong revenue. And let's use cleaned revenue and clean revenue. That should fix that. Okay, so now we're kind of almost there. One thing we need to do is before we add anything else is create a new page. And let's just build some tables here where we're going to, let's build a matrix actually, where we have our year from order date and matrix. Let's make sure we're bringing in the matrix visual. And we want to put the year in our columns. And we don't, let's see, year. Not really sure why that's doing that. Let's do this order date, matrix visual, order date. And now, okay, now it should be good. And I'm just going to leave that as it is, like this. I want to bring back the product name, put that in our rows. And now what we can bring in is, okay, let's bring in our revenue. And clean revenue again. I keep forgetting clean revenue. And let's make sure this is only 2 decimals. So I'm going to click that, come up to the top and bring 2. And also bring that in as a currency. Yes, so now we have this table here. And what do we have? We need to get rid of revenue. So now we can see all of the revenue there. And then we can also see the margin in another table. So let's get the margin and bring that in here. Just replace it. So now we can already start seeing where we have issues, right? If we have low margin. So we can just sort this by the margin here, and I think our instructions were to get anything under 30. So we already see these 3 that we need to look at: the max, the minimalist, and the logo hoodie. And what we can do is just look at whether COGS are increasing or the price, not the price, COGS is increasing. The margin is obviously going down, and we haven't changed the price. Um, so the issue is that it's getting more expensive to manufacture these, as you see, because it keeps going down, 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 down from 23 to 25. So we need to recommend increasing the price here in order to bump up any of the ones that we have a margin under 30. But that we can write up in the end. Let's go back over to our table here. Not first part of a database. And let's get the animated GIF. So I'm just going to go over to Google. And you can see what I wrote in. It's coffee cup GIF, no background. You can get any of these. Most of these are on Pinterest. I would recommend just opening up an account with your Google account. And what you can do is you can see this is here. It has no background, but let me show you. Once you open it up, you can just say, click on the image that you want and just copy the image address. And the copying the image address, once you put that into Google, it will give you this. Let's go back over to our dashboard here. And now what we can do is create another table. I think it's with enter data. We'll call this image, and then we'll just call this image. Oh, I think we can just pop in the address here. And then let's just load that. And now we have another table here, should be called image. So let's rename this table just by double clicking it. Rename image. And now we want to be able to have that image here, and we'll just click into that image. But first, we want to change this to not uncategorized, but we want this as an image URL. Now, if we click image, you have your animated coffee cup. And all we want to do is remove the title here. So here, click this, and column header, we should be able to turn off. And what else do we need to turn off? Call out value. So elements, we want no grid. So that's not there. Let's see. General. Let's just turn everything off. The titles off. Got to be in here somewhere. Column headers. Value. Let's see. Oh, we can do style. We can do none. Um, there's some way a title here we can turn off. Specific cell elements. Okay. It's somewhere in here. I just don't remember where. Values? No. Let's close everything so we find it. It's definitely a title somewhere. Um, anyway, okay, well, I'll find out where that is and we'll get rid of it. But we also need to remove the background and effects. So that is gone. And there's a cell. You can see there's a darkness here. So let's get rid of that. Values. Grid. No border. None. Okay. We might have to darken the background until we figure that out, but I don't want to spend too much time trying to figure out how to get rid of this one little part. But I'll find it as we go along. So now let's go into our title and let's add our Arial black, and let's call this grind sales pricing dashboard. Make this bigger. Too big. Let's go with 24. And let's pull this out. Still a little big. 18% looks better. We'll pull this down. Let's move this out of the way. And now you can see it's starting to look like the dashboard that we had before. We just want to be able to add a border. Effects. Oh, I think I know why I'm having this. Okay, see, this is a okay. We'll deal with that in 1 second. And let's start bringing in our effects. We want a visual border on everything, but we want that border to be like maybe a light gray. Oops. Oh, visual border. I'm clicking the wrong thing. Visual border. There we go. Visual border on light gray. Same here. Visual. Where is it? Effects. Visual border on. That's light gray. And as you see here, we need to build a box. So what we're going to do is just go to Insert and get a box there, pull this over and make sure it's lined up. There we go. And now we will go over to here. We want to remove the background, right? And want to make sure this is lined up a little bit better. Looks okay for right now. But you can see it's interacting with something, and it's this. Oh, so let's now go to Effects, Visual Border, and also Light. All right, so now we have this. We need, okay, maybe until I figure out how to remove this, I can go to column headers. And then maybe what I can do is change that text color to something that's dark where we can't see it. I'll let's go one more darker, even darker. There we go. So now we can't see it. I'm sure there's a better way of doing that. So this is all I'm going to do for the dashboard right now. It has everything that looks pretty much like the other dashboard we have. You can see I made the background darker because I thought it was a little bit nicer. I added this title here. And one more thing we want to do is we want to add a navigation there. So if I'll just show you how to change the background here if you want. It's very easy. just click into this and do the canvas background, and then you just change this to a darker color as you need to make everything else look darker. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a navigation button here. So go to Insert, go to Button, go to Blank, and put this here. Now that you have that button there, turn Action and and then go to Navigation, Page Navigation, and then we have this only page 2 here. So Destination, page 2, then Style. So we change our text to Product Analysis. And then we'll change that font color to white, make it bold, and you can change the shape and the color and design as you need. General effects, I'm going to change the background to just this, maybe a blue color, not that blue, but like maybe like this. But you get the point. Then if you click this, it will take you here. And of course, let's Control A, pull this down a bit. We can add another button here. So Insert, Button, just use a left arrow for back. Make that a bit bigger. Go to Action. And then type, we want to do Page Navigation, Destination, go back to page 1. If we right click that, it goes back there. So that's us building this little dashboard, and I'm sure you guys will, optimize it where it looks similar to the one I created here, just changing some colors and things like that. But let's get into the quick analysis. And I'm not sure why my image disappeared here. Oh, because it's being blocked. So there it is. I just needed to click it again. And you could definitely change the image size, and don't be limited to anything that is on Pinterest. You can choose any animated GIF as long as you have the URL. So let's pop over to our information here. And if oh, this is the other one. Let's go back to our main one that we just built. Go over here. And we can see this is where we want anything from gooseneck all the way up to these are in low margin. And I just wrote up what I would do here. So let me just show you this. I'll make this bigger. Go back here. So, oh, go back. And then, so the pricing recommendation is based on the gross margin percentage they gave us, which was 30% and up. We were to focus on these three. And because we have cost of goods that has increased, we have no choice but to raise our prices immediately or discontinue these. And that the discontinue option will be left up to the company, but we have two levers that we can do because we know that margin is a function of COGS and price. So we want to raise our price because we have no control over the COGS unless we source a cheaper way to make it or discontinue it. So we're going to raise all three of these, make pricing recommendations for these because from 2023 to 2025, this has decreased. We also saw a decrease in gooseneck, which was the one right above the line. So the actions are necessary because of the raising cost of goods, and we need to either change our price or source a cheaper way to make these to keep that cost of goods down. So I hope you guys learned a lot from this in data analysis. Please share this if you definitely made it to the end of this video, you definitely need to like and subscribe. Thank you.